And we're recording. So this is the Kubernetes SIG Network meeting for July 13th, 2017. Got a few items in the agenda today. The first two are from Bowie. Do you want to kick us off with status for 1.8?
Yeah, so can you hear us?
Yep, sound good.
Okay. Awesome. So I put that as a generic item. I noticed a couple of PRs coming to me, at least for IPv6. I just wanted to know what the status is, if I missed one, or they're waiting for, not just for me specifically, but any PRs that I think we need some kind of coordination, if people are waiting for reviews and so forth.
Yeah, it's a good point. I've had a kind of related question as well about how are we tracking things in GitHub at this point that are going into the milestone. I know in the last release we had an approved for milestone label that went on kind of late in the release cycle. I don't know if we should start labeling things with that now, so we can at least have a better feel for what are the things that are important for the milestone versus what are just smaller fixes.
Okay, so
would that help in your case at least?
Yeah, so I think maybe we should send out an email to the mailing list saying if you have any PRs for features that you want in 1.8, please get that approved for milestone for 1.8, and then we can sort of understand that that is something that needs to be done sooner rather than later and not dropped. For example, we could scrub it to make sure that things are moving along.
Yep.
Okay, so maybe I'll send out that email.
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Okay. All right.
Somebody or somebodies will need to be available to actually apply that label. It hasn't been added to the bot yet, so I think it has to be someone with edit rights.
Okay. Yeah, and then there was basically an open item if anyone else had any updates on the status. You know, they're blocked on something or they're waiting for something. It's like a coordination time slot, basically.
Yeah, so does anybody have PRs or issues that they want help with or have questions about for the 1.8 milestone?
Hi, this is Deepak from Huawei.
Hey.
Hello. Hi. My colleague Michael, he's responsible for the IPVS PR, and I don't see him. Is Michael? Are you there on the call? No, looks like he's not there. So in any case, I think I had a conversation with him yesterday. So it looks like in the last couple of weeks, we haven't gotten any feedback yet. It's a pretty big PR, and I remember in the last meeting, I was there as well, and Tim mentioned that he's going to go through a very detailed review process and all that. So that's what we're kind of concerned, because it's a pretty big PR, so, and we haven't gotten any feedback yet.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. So I think it was Tim and Dan. Did you say you were going to take a look at that? Or are you interested in taking a look at that?
I think it was Tim, because he said it's too big a PR, so he wants to go through it a couple of times to make sure everything is all covered.
Yep. Is Tim on the call?
Tim, I think, is in Poland time, so he might not be here.
I mean,
so I think that's it. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say I'm interested, but since I know very little about IPVS and more just about the proxy stuff in general, I don't know how much use I'd be, so don't block on a review from me or anything like that.
Yeah, I know it's been kind of sitting there since 1.7, and it got pushed to 1.8 as well. So I think it'll be great to get feedback, as soon as possible, so that if we need to make any changes.
So I'm wondering if it's possible to split that into a smaller changes, or it has to go in one big bang PR.
I think actually, no, I'm not that familiar with the detail,
Okay.
but I don't think it's a question of bigger PR thing. I think everything has to kind of go together. I guess this is what my impression is. I think Michael. Hi, Michael. You just joined.
Hi, Deepak. I'm Du Jun. I'm here.
Hi, Dujun. So the question.
Hi.
So you heard that question. He said, "Can we break up the PR? If the PR is too big, you want to reply to that?"
Yes, I think the PR is really too big, but I think the design proposal is not very big, and I think both the code PR and the design proposal is ready for new round of review.
I see.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
two things actually. There's the proposal and the PR.
Yes, I have
I see. So then those are two separate things that need to be reviewed independently.
I have received many review comments and I have fixed all of them, and I need a new round of feedbacks.
For the proposal as well?
Yes.
Okay.
How do those relate to each other? Do we need to get that proposal in first, or are they kind of can be done in parallel?
I think the better way is work in parallel. But team has gave many comments on the code PR as well. Both and he also gave many comments in the design proposals. And team has not given many some comments on the main code logical in the code PR. The improvement on the code PR has pending for some days.
I think that's a big concern actually. Yeah.
This is a big concern.
So one suggestion is, I know the code PR probably involves some intimate knowledge of IPVS, but probably the proposal should be consumable more widely. So if you want to sort of get another round on the proposal, it would be worthwhile pinging that out on the mailing list. And then I'm pretty sure lots of people would be interested in general to take a look at that.
Okay. I will send it in the mail list to bring up more people.
Yeah, that'll be great. If we can somehow, I don't know if we can ping, I know you folks can ping Tim, and maybe we can have some kind of code, the main logic, I think. So that's what his Dujun's concern is, that the main key logic for this code base hasn't been reviewed yet. And that's where the concern is. And it will be really great if we can get a feedback on that.
Okay, I mean, the email probably to the mailing list should be, hey, this is a proposal. The proposal part is a general interest thing. So I think, you may not need IPVS knowledge, deep IPVS knowledge to review it, and we really want people to review it. And then also put the code PR, because I'm pretty sure on that mailing list are people with more detailed knowledge of IPVS, and that could also help.
Well, so let me just give you a background. I think so what happened was, I think Tim was on vacation for a couple of weeks, and then we pinged him and we did not get any response back. And then he came back in the last meeting and he said, so we didn't want to bother him after that, you see. So we could have pinged him again, but I thought because it's a big PR, so he's gonna take some time. So we didn't really bother kind of reminding him and pinging him, as we thought that kind of he's reviewing it. Hopefully he's reviewing it, so.
Yeah, I think two things from my experience with Tim in reviewing PRs. First, he's really, really busy, and so you might just want to ping him a couple of times.
Okay.
Second, he really likes it if the PR is broken up into small, discrete chunks. And I think a lot of people do too. So if there's any way that you can, kind of break some pieces of it up, that would be good.
Well, the thing is he's already done a review actually, because he mentioned that. So he's done a review, but he himself. Yeah, he's done a review and we got feedback and we made changes before, two or 3 weeks ago. And then he said he's going to do, but he didn't really mention breaking up a PR though. He didn't,
Okay.
I guess he was not really concerned about that, but he did say, because this is something very important and I want to go through it myself. I think there was a question, either somebody else can do it. And he said, no, I would like to do that myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's also been out for a couple of weeks already, so.
Yeah, he's going to be out, I know for sure, in the next week. So I think it would be good to just get, at least on the proposal, to get more generic.
Yeah, so we'll definitely do that. We'll ping again, and then Dujun will send, Dujun and Michael. I see Michael there on the call as well, so they'll send out the proposal and ping Tim as well.
Sorry, the mailing list, not just Tim.
Yeah, mailing list. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, yeah.
Do we, anybody else working on 1.8 stuff that we want to discuss or has a status update or is looking for help?
I don't think I really needed any help on it, but if you have opinions on egress and how that's going to work in 1.8, whether you have certain things not covered by the use case doc that's there, or if you think it should go in a totally different direction, please reply to that mailing list.
Yep. So, Christopher, would you prefer people kept the conversation on the mailing list for now versus comments in the doc?
I think comments in the doc are good. Dan Williams had a PR open that contained most of this, so it seemed like we had gotten to a point where we at least thought we had the majority of what we wanted. So what I'm wondering is, that PR only got closed because of inactivity. I know it needs to be rearranged a little bit to suit the newer stuff that came in or the stable release. But I just wanted to make sure that that's still kind of relevant, and if all I need to do is kind of update that proposal a little bit, or if we should take it in a new direction.
So I responded to your mail like half an hour before the meeting, so I don't know if anyone has seen this. But yeah, I think other Dan's PR is probably a good starting point. The Google Doc, which I had written, which you also linked to, gets a little bit broader, and I think some of the use cases we probably don't want to look at least for 1.8. So I think that the PR is probably where we want to start from.
Does anybody remember what the final status of that was like 8 months ago whenever we were talking about it? I seem to recall there was some reason why we didn't end up pursuing it, but I don't remember whether that was just to keep our lives simple because we were also doing the network policy at that time.
Part of it was to keep our lives simple, and part of it was because you had originally done some complicated stuff with the CIDR stuff to try and make it work with the use cases where you had one admin overriding another admin. And I think we decided we didn't want to do that, which makes it all simpler, but it never got rewritten for that.
Okay.
There's another problem. As soon as we talk about destination IP addresses, with all the DNAT we do, they're kind of meaningless.
Well, what do you mean? We're talking about destination IP addresses outside of the cluster.
Well, right, but the problem is, the thought was, if we support IP address, destination IP addresses, we support them, period, regardless of whether they're inside or outside the cluster. But if they're inside the cluster, we don't actually know the real destination IP. So we got kind of tangled up in that knot.
Yeah, I think we just have to find something that works for like 80% of people, or drop that to 70, just get to a milestone that works a bit.
I would be totally happy if the only use case for egress policy in terms of destination IP address was for addresses outside the cluster, because that's the only real use case we need, because for ones inside the cluster, we can express control using ingress.
I seem to recall, and not to like derail it, I do agree there, but I seem to recall that there was an objection raised that you can do that sort of thing by means outside of Kubernetes as well. And so why do we add that complexity to Kubernetes if you can set up your own egress firewall outside the cluster?
Well, if it were a constant, my recollection of that discussion, I suggested that or pointed out, and some other people did too. And if it's a constant, then sure, the operator can just set up whatever constant controls he wants. But if you want to give Kubernetes users, internal admins, control over it, then the natural thing is to put it in Kubernetes objects.
Yeah, and I think I've seen some use cases where people come in and they say, certain services should be able to reach outside the clusters and certain other ones shouldn't. So
Yeah.
I could see that being like a primary reason you'd want it in Kubernetes.
Yeah, the rules can depend on the pod you're coming out of.
Right. The use case that I've been told by some people that want to use this is they have some services that they want to be accessible from, friendly things inside the cluster and not everything inside the cluster.
I see. So one meta comment, it would be great to have all this conversation written down so we don't.
So actually, a lot of this is in the Google Doc, which is linked from the agenda.
Okay. So
Yeah, I think I have enough context to just create a PR and we can continue the discussion on there.
awesome, excellent.
Great. So shall I put you down as an action then for creating a PR to continue discussion?
Okay.
I seem to have lost my agenda in my huge number of tabs. Right. Okay. So if there's no more 1.8 discussion, Bowie, you also wanted to talk about end-to-end tests, which are moving.
Yeah, so this is a very mechanical, very simple thing. We're basically taking all of the SIG-related tests and just putting them in the same directory, giving them SIG network approvers and SIG network reviewers. So that hopefully that'll make all of our lives easier when we add tests. And then there will be a test grid entry just for SIG network. And we can just have a one-stop shop where we can see what the health of it is.
Cool, that sounds really nice. Is there an action for people here? Should people be volunteering if they want to be a test owner or?
Yeah, so after that's done, I will probably have more detailed tasks, like small, cleanup tasks. We need to kind of make them less flaky and so forth. But that I don't have right now, so just wait on that probably next time.
Cool. So next up we had Christopher, who added features deadline. Do you want to talk about that, Christopher?
Yeah. So the proposed deadline, I believe, is August 1st. Currently, we have 3 features, I think, that we're targeting for 1.8. 2 of them are related to egress, so that'll come soon. And the last one is the IPVS. So we need to have features in there by that date, or else you gotta just go through a couple more hoops to say that it's defined for 1.8.
Yeah, so according to the spreadsheet, it looks like the IPVS feature already has an issue, and it's in the 1.8 milestone, which is good. I'm not aware of anything for the egress or CIDR support features. So does somebody want to volunteer to see that those get raised?
Which one was that?
Couple of weeks. The network policy egress and network policy CIDR.
Oh, right. Yeah. I'll work with Dan Winship to get those added.
Awesome. Thanks.
I think the ones that I was mainly wondering around were, we talked about the load balancer claim as well as pod local services. There was people that were definitely interested in getting them in, but I'm not sure if there were clear owners and thus potentially not a defined feature issue. Because there's kind of like adding it like a PR and then actually defining it saying, yes, we want this to be in 1.8 and adding the label to it. So it's tracked by Kubernetes PM.
Yes. So I'm not aware of what's going on with the load balancer claim. I vaguely remember us saying that if we hadn't got an owner for it by some time frame, we would remove it. But it doesn't look like there's any information filled in about that at the moment. Does anybody know, like, if somebody's working on that now, or is intending to try and get that to some state in 1.8? Okay, so maybe we should just drop that for now. The pod locality for services, I think we've got appropriately at a priority 2. I did talk to the RC or THIRC, or however that's intended to be pronounced, and he's intending to do some work on it, but you know, if it doesn't make it, then I don't think we need to divert resources.
Sounds good.
Cool. So I will. I'll drop the load balancer claim line item. Similarly, is we have support multiple pod IP addresses on there, down against Mike Spreitzer, but we don't have a target or a priority on that yet. Mike, do you have an idea of what our intended end state for 1.8 is for that item?
I'm afraid I haven't had a chance to work on that. I will swap that in and try to get back to you on that.
Cool. So next on the agenda was egress policy, which we talked about already. Christopher, was there more that you wanted to say there?
No, I'll just throw that under the first entry there for 1.8 issues.
Cool. And then the last thing, IPv6 end-to-end testing.
Yeah, that's me. That's Paul. Hi.
Hey, Paul.
So yeah, there's quite a few of us here at Cisco that have been working on IPv6. Daniel sort of talked to you guys, I think, on previous meetings and that. And we've been doing quite a few things. Some has been just looking at low-level code to find out things that are not IPv6 ready and try to sort of modify them. Other things that we've done is just trying to run things and finding things breaking and creating bugs for that. So that's probably where you're seeing some of the IPv6 bugs that are coming up in some of the reviews. One thing that we've also tried to do is to set up for some end-to-end testing. Daniel started on it a little bit. I'm trying to help him some as well. So we're trying to sort of get our lab set up, and we've set up a Docker and Docker to try to work with that. And we're trying to sort of set up like Google Cloud Engine accounts to sort of get things done. But it would be good if we could get a contact of who to talk to about creating the end-to-end test suite and how we want to do that. I guess my assumption was that I thought maybe we'd want to have a new suite for IPv6 tests so that they could be enabled or disabled based on whether or not we want to start running them, or do we want to have them just add IPv6 tests to existing suites?
Yeah, I think for now, given that some platforms do not support IPv6, you would probably, one of them being Google Cloud, where we run a lot of the E2E tests, you would have to keep them off. So for now, I think you would have to keep them somewhat separate.
Separate, yeah. And I think that's why we're sort of looking at the Docker and Docker thing, to try to see if there was a way that we could sort of run that, and then inside of the sort of the Docker and Docker environment have some IPv6, and then the host would just be IPv4.
Yeah, I mean, one other suggestion is to sort of set up one of the overlays that supports IPv6. That is another thing.
Yeah. I think Dane has worked on the bridge plugin to try to sort of make that a little bit IPv6 ready as well. So I guess in regards to creating a new test suite, I guess we could use some guidance on like how to do that and how to sort of get that hooked into the CI.
Okay, I'll help you work on that.
Okay, super. Yeah, because we're getting to the point where we're going to try to start setting things up and just try to get things working in the lab. So super, thank you. And certainly, if there's any other suggestions on what we should be doing there, that we're all ears.
Okay, so that's actually the last item on the agenda. Do you folks have any other announcements or updates that they'd like to give for today's meeting? If not, then we're way ahead schedule. And we can give people 30 minutes back.
Yay!
Cool. Sounds like that's a win.
Right.
See you guys in 2 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.